The house was still. I could hear the gentle hum of the air conditioner and the occasional creak of the wooden floor settling under the weight of night. I had fallen asleep with a book resting on my chest and the bedside lamp casting a warm golden hue over the room. It had been a long day, longer than most. I was emotionally exhausted, mentally scattered, and physically drained. As a single mother, I had grown used to handling life on my own, but some days just felt heavier. That night was one of them. Liam, my 12-year-old son, had been quiet all day. Normally, he'd come home from school bursting with stories about his science project or a funny thing his friend Jake had done during lunch. But today, he barely said a word during dinner, his eyes locked on his plate, shoulders drawn in like he was carrying the weight of the world. I asked him if everything was all right, and he nodded quickly, forcing a smile. I let it go, thinking maybe he just had a tough day. When I drifted off to sleep, I didn't expect anything to disturb me. But sometime in the middle of the night, I felt the soft creak of my bedroom door. Half asleep, I stirred but didn't open my eyes. The familiar sound of soft, sock-covered feet shuffling across the carpet reached my ears. Then the side of the bed dipped slightly, and I felt a warm presence next to me. "Liam?" I mumbled, still groggy.
"Yeah, Mom."
"It's me," he whispered. His voice was quiet, hesitant, almost unsure if he should even be there. I opened my eyes just a little, the soft glow from the night light in the hallway outlining his silhouette. He was sitting at the edge of the bed, his back to me. "Are you okay?" I asked, now a little more awake. He didn't respond right away. Instead, he sat there in silence, his hands fidgeting in his lap. I sat up, concerned now, brushing the hair away from his forehead. He looked up at me, and I saw his eyes were glistening. He wasn't crying, yet, but something deep was weighing on him. He started, then stopped. "I had a bad dream." I opened the blanket and motioned for him to come in. It wasn't unusual for Liam to come to me after nightmares when he was younger, but it had been years since the last time. He was growing up so fast that part of me almost forgot how small and vulnerable he still could be. He climbed in and rested his head against my shoulder, letting out a shaky breath. I held him close, rubbing his back gently. "You want to tell me about it?" He was quiet again, then murmured, "It wasn't just a dream. It was more like a feeling, like something's going to happen. Something bad." My heart clenched. "Nothing bad is going to happen, sweetie. I promise." He shook his head. "I don't know. I've been thinking a lot lately. About Dad." That stopped me cold. His father, my husband, passed away 4 years ago in a car accident. Liam was only 8 at the time. We had both gone through the motions of grief, support groups, therapy, and rebuilding our lives, but I knew there were some wounds he still carried quietly. "What about him?" I asked softly. "I'm starting to forget him," he said, his voice trembling. I can't remember what his voice sounded like, or the way he used to laugh when we'd play catch. Tears welled in my eyes. I hugged him tighter, trying to think of something comforting to say, but nothing came. Instead, I let silence do the talking, letting him cry quietly against me. After a few moments, he sat up and wiped his eyes. "I know you miss him too. I see the way you still look at his pictures." I nodded. "Every day, Liam. There's not a single day I don't think about your dad. But it's okay to forget some things. That doesn't mean he's gone from your heart." "But what if I forget everything?" he asked, fear creeping into his voice. "What if I grow up and forget who he was?" "You won't," I said firmly, "because I'll remind you. And we've got stories and pictures and memories we can talk about anytime you want. He's part of you. You look so much like him, you know?" That made him smile a little. "Really? Really? And your sense of humor? That's all him." Liam chuckled, a small laugh breaking through the sadness. Then, to my surprise, he reached into the pocket of his pajama pants and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. "What's that?" I asked. He handed it to me. I started writing down everything I remember about him. Just little stuff, like how he used to sneak cookies before dinner, and how he could never remember where he put his car keys. I unfolded the note and read the lines. my chest tightening with emotion. Each sentence was a piece of our past, frozen in Liam's handwriting. These weren't just memories, they were love letters to the man who raised him, laughed with him, held him when he cried. Liam had been silently preserving his father's spirit without even telling me. "I didn't know you were doing this," I said, blinking back tears. "I didn't want you to be sad," he replied. "But tonight, I didn't want to be alone." I put the note aside and cupped his face in my hands. "You never have to be alone. I'm right here. Always." He curled back under the blanket beside me, and I wrapped my arms around him as if I could shield him from every pain in the world. Eventually, his breathing slowed, and he drifted off to sleep. I lay awake for a long while, thinking about everything he'd said. The next morning, I made pancakes, his favorite, and as we sat down to eat, I brought out a shoebox I hadn't touched in years. It was filled with photos, letters, a few old shirts that still carried the faintest scent of my husband's cologne, and a voice recording he had made on Liam's 3rd birthday. Liam's eyes lit up as he listened to the recording, his dad's voice crackling through the old speaker, singing "Happy Birthday" with more enthusiasm than skill. We laughed, we cried, and we remembered. That day marked a turning point for both of us. We began a new routine. Every Friday night, we'd share one story about Dad. We called it Memory Fridays. Sometimes they were funny, sometimes bittersweet, but always full of love. I never expected that night, when Liam came to my bed while I slept, to be the night that healed something in both of us. I thought he was just coming for comfort after a nightmare. But what he really did was open his heart in a way that reminded me how strong, sensitive, and deeply thoughtful my son had become. He didn't just wake me from sleep. He woke me from the numbness I'd wrapped around my grief. And in doing so, he gave me the most beautiful gift a mother could ever ask for: connection, honesty, and the reminder that love never really leaves us. It just waits patiently in the quiet corners of our hearts until we're ready to feel it again.